Hey everyone, welcome back to the Opie Studio. Today I'm with a brand new video for you guys. I am going to be doing a character essay, Archie Comics, Riverdale essay for Jughead Jones. This has kind of been long awaited. It's been a while since I've done these, but I am going to be doing it, and I'm excited to get into it because Jughead really is one of my favorite characters in Riverdale. So in the past I've done things with pop figures and trying to kind of like represent which one's Archie Comics, which one's Riverdale. Well, they're both Riverdale brand. I couldn't get an Archie Comics Jughead. So let's just say that the hat one is Archie Comics, I guess, and this one's Riverdale. I mean, it really doesn't matter. I mean, this one, just because he doesn't have a hat on and he just has his hat on all the time in the comics, I'm just going to say this one's the Riverdale one because he has his Southside Serpents on the back of it, and this one's Riverdale. So we're going to go with that. Okay, so I think I've said before, Jughead is my favorite character in Riverdale. Really, from the beginning, my parents and I, and mainly all of my family members who watch Riverdale, like Jughead the most. And that's understandable. He's very relatable, first of all. He's very laid back, cool kind of dude. He likes investigating. He's just not that type of character. I mean, he might have a little bit of autism, I'm not sure, but he's just the opposite of Archie, pretty much. And not saying that Archie is bad necessarily, but it's just like the opposite, and I think that you kind of need that. You can't have all Archies, but I think it's fine. I mean, I personally just do relate to Jughead. I mean, do I relate to Riverdale Jughead or Archie Comics Jughead more? Well, it depends on the season that you're talking about also. And I think I'm just going to kind of get into that in this episode. Okay, so let's start things off with how Jughead started in Season 1. Because Season 1, he was a loner. And I think that's kind of how he was in Archie Comics too. Now, there's mainly a lot of differences on how Jughead is made to be a loner. He has this whole I'm a weirdo speech all the way back in Season 1. But Jughead has a lot of comics. He has Jughead's Time Place, I know, is one. I think they kind of based the whole Alien Mystery Season 5 kind of off that. And the Archie and Jughead tales, and Jughead really has his own fan base, but you can tell that he's mainly by himself in a lot of these. He's just a loner, and I think that is why his character is so relatable. Riverdale has Archie and Jughead interacting sometimes, but really not enough. But I think I've just come to accept that after the time jump spoiler that they are roommates. So that's interesting. Okay. So, I'm gonna because this will probably take a while, I'm just gonna go ahead and say, I've seen a lot of people complain about the biggest change in Jughead's character from Archie Comics to Riverdale, and that is, his sexuality. Not saying that he's asexual in the comics, that's how he identifies, he just doesn't really... he's had girlfriends, but he just kind of identifies as just kind of like him himself. He just doesn't really do girls, honestly. And they made that different, and I almost thought that was the direction that they're going to go for Riverdale. Those first few episodes, he really just had that vibe to him, and then him and Betty started talking, and that's just started what became the fan favorite relationship in Riverdale, Bughead. And I've seen a lot of Barchies, not necessarily all Barchies, but just people be upset about that. And am I upset about it? Not really. It's not like I grew up with the Archie comics like some people, so I understand not a lot about what your expectations were for this character, and I do understand where you're coming from, because that is a big personality trait. That's something that you're just assuming they're going to stick with. And don't get me wrong, I do like Betty and Jughead's relationship. I think it's sweet. Interested to see if they do that again, kind of like in the future of the show. Maybe in Season 5, I'm not sure. What was I saying? So I like their relationship. I don't have a problem with it, but there is one part of that argument that I am starting to take the side of, and that is Jughead's just not that type of person anymore. He fit in the group, which is a good way, but when it comes to now where he's at, does he really have that same relatableness? Sure, he's a loner. Sure, he got himself into a bad situation, which I really think he deserved better. I really think that he deserved to be, just become a better person, and I think they're going back to that season 1 early episodes Jughead for a reason. But I do get it, where those people who kind of wanted him to be more like the comics and make him a little bit more relatable, just a little bit more like an outsider, and not have him become so involved in the Southside Serpents gang. And this really is that season 2 Jughead that I just really did not like. He really wasn't doing it for me. And not saying that he was bad, but just that Southside Serpents jacket, it really just got him. It really got him different. And I think, unfortunately, that just caused a lot of people just to not like him, and really like separating his character from the Archie comics. Archie comics Jughead, sure, he had maybe variations of that personality, but it never went to the level that Riverdale took him. Okay, go back to the time jump. He's having the storyline about aliens. He's focusing on his trauma, and that's not a bad thing. I think it's actually a pretty interesting storyline. But then again, take it in the perspective of, is he relatable? No, he's not likable right now either. Sure, maybe he wasn't likable all the way back in season 1 because he didn't open up with people. People look at him and they would not like him. He's having that same vibe all the way season 5, except he made that choice for himself. And I get that, this whole time jump is really, again, I think it's separating itself from the Archie comics thing because they're getting so much older. It's crazy. Yeah, and I think that there's certain things that, like, certain vibes, like certain character traits that they're kind of taking from the Archie comics, and they're doing it well in the time jump. But if we're talking Jughead as a character, he really just, he's become less relatable, less likable. And I think the problem with that is that they're not in high school anymore. Of course, their personalities have to change, otherwise it would be kind of boring. So if we got like a... And I don't want to see Jughead be a gang leader either. I think that story line is just over. I'm hoping it's over, because that really was my least favorite Jughead. We don't need to see him do that, and I really think, unfortunately, that's an issue that the Riverdale creators have done. But, going back to Archie Comics Jughead, like I said, I'm going to use this for an example. He had this hat on, and he just was a loner. He didn't have many friends. He had Archie, he had Betty, he had a few other people, but he really just was the person that no one really liked. Everyone kind of stayed away from him. That's unfortunate. But I think it actually is a good thing that they improved it on Riverdale. By the end of season 4, you really feel good for him. You really feel good for him. And I think that's fine. But then you look in season 5, time jump, he's just not that type of person anymore. You look at him, he's not, sure, he's a loner, but he's not relatable. And again, that's the time jump perspective that they're trying to tell, but it's still really not doing it for me. So yeah, we just kind of have this person who's laid back, he's relatable for a reason. The reason why everyone started to like him was of that reason, but then you look at, again, and you look at that character, and he hasn't developed. What everyone loved Jughead at one point. Everyone just was like obsessed with him. They're saying the only reason why I watch this show is Jughead. But instead, and here's my last point, they always make him go missing. They always put like near-death experiences on him, and that's not good either. Like, they're making fans stay in tune because of that. If it was certain other characters, like Veronica went missing, nobody would care because of just the way they developed that character. But they made Jughead so likable to the point where that's their fan service. They're using fan service right here. And by the end, it's not an interesting storyline. Look at how the whole Stonewall Prep mystery wrapped up. That was not an interesting storyline. That's the problem here. Yeah, that's just the problem here. It's unfortunate. Yes, I gotta say, it's unfortunate how they've treated him. Frankly, I know he's gonna be alive after this hiatus in season 5. I know he's gonna be alive, but they use it for fan service. They make him so likable that that's their main storyline for him. I think he has an interesting storyline. I think that's awesome. I think that he is the most likable character. His trauma is very interesting. And it's not the personality I have the trouble with, it's just the character. Going back to the whole, do I think the sexuality was an issue? I don't think so. I think it worked fine. I think that him and Betty, he felt safer with her. You know, he felt more stable. So I don't think that was a problem there. But I do understand why people would think that way. I do understand why people would be hesitant because of that. So that's kind of my essay. Just I personally think it is better. It's not as complex, I think, but a lot of it's very conservative. So, anyways, I want to thank everyone for watching my studio. Comment down below your thoughts on this. Like, comment, subscribe, and bye.